Hello, I'm Marni Penner, and I'm a social anxiety and an anxiety coach. And today I'd like to talk about some of the objections people have to the concept of honesty. And I would like to clarify exactly what I mean by honesty and how honesty works. How honesty helps decrease our social anxiety is that it does two things. It both simplifies our cognitive brain so that we don't have as many thoughts going around and around in our head, but it also reduces the shame in our limbic brain. When we're honest about something, we don't feel like we have anything to be ashamed of, and our shame goes down. There has been two objections I get a lot to this concept of honesty. One objection is that people say, I could never be honest. I'm incapable of it. I just can't do it. It's too hard. And the other objection is that when I'm honest, I overshare. I'm too honest. I become this total negative Nancy, and I overwhelm people with my problems, right? Or I'm too vulnerable, and I have a vulnerability hangover afterwards. So I'm going to tell you why this happens and what the solution is. There are different levels of honesty to address different levels of shame. So in order to address the deep shames, guilts, and traumas at the root of our social anxiety, we can't just say this honesty to anybody we meet in the street, right? We have to find someone who is like us, who we trust, and who we can tell this honesty to so that they can then help us process what happened, help us free ourselves from our shame, from our guilt, and feelings of pain. And so that we can then own our story. We can then repackage this honesty so that we can then tell it to others after that, right? Telling our honesty is so much easier when we freed ourselves from the shame, guilt, and trauma underlying it, right? But then when I tell this to people, they say, well, I've tried going to therapists and talking about my deepest shames, my deepest traumas, my guilts, all of that, and it just gets worse. They keep digging deeper and deeper, and I'm feeling worse and worse, and I don't feel that it's resolving anything. And I think that's a problem with traditional psychology, with psychoanalysis and the Freudian approach, because that isn't actually necessary to free ourselves from the shames, guilts, and traumas of the past. And I'll tell you what my approach is instead. So whenever my clients and I find that there's some topic that is causing them too much shame and it's preventing them from being honest with people about who they are, what their past is, and what they feel, and then we schedule an extra long session for this topic. This topic can be something like painful emotions regarding their abortion they had in the past, or guilt about something they did in the past, or the painful emotions from an abusive relationship in the past, or the shame about their family growing up in the past, right? These are some examples of topics that my clients and I have explored. And so we'll schedule an extra long session, not a 1 hour session like regular, but like a 1.5 hour to 2 hour session. And it's free of charge, the extra time. And my clients will then tell their story about this topic from the very beginning. You know, what happened? What did they do? What are the things they don't want to tell anybody about, right? And then I ask them how they felt. I ask them some questions, and they go through their whole story. Why is this causing them so much pain, so much shame, so much guilt, right? And they tell me the things they don't want to say, and they tell me the whole story. And then I start giving them my insights and my ideas, and I help them to process their story, and I help them see the big picture so that they don't feel so alone. They don't feel like there's something wrong with them, that this is something they could never move on from or forgive themselves for, right? And then I help them move on. And what I also do to help them move on is to own their story and to repackage their story, or to just package their story for the very first time, right? What did happen to them, or what did they do, right? And how can they present it to others? Okay, and then they can go to the next person they feel close to or feel comfortable to, and they can tell their story again. But this time it's been packaged. They no longer feel so much shame, guilt, or trauma, and they can then tell their story in a less heavy way, right? Like they don't have to take themselves so seriously anymore. They don't have to worry about whether these shames will come up because they have freed themselves from the bulk of the shame. Right? And so the more they tell their story, the more it becomes a non-issue. Yeah, this happened to me. And then more they don't even feel obligated to talk about it at all. Right? So if they're feeling shame about their childhood and we've totally processed this and we've packaged their story so they can tell other people, then in the future they won't even feel like they need to tell their story, for example, to some new person they're meeting. They've owned it. They've embraced it. They've talked about it enough before. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Yes, honesty is really, really hard. And yes, sometimes we do overshare. But the best way to overcome both of these problems is to move from the inside out. First, find someone who is like you, who you can truly trust, who you can truly tell your story, and who is going to be solution-oriented and is going to help you move on and own your story and package it for others. And then start telling your story to more and more people in an outward fashion. And then it will become kind of a non-story. Like, this is just what happened. This is just who I am. It's not a big deal. I'm going to step into love and positive emotions instead, and I'm going to be honest about who I am, what I've been through, what I feel, what I think. When I feel it's impeding the interaction, or when I feel it would help me get closer to this person that I'm now connecting with. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you'd like me to help you overcome your social anxiety and the shame underlying it using this truly innovative, effective approach. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.